So, welcome and good morning to all of you to this smartphone webinar series. Thank you for joining us in this edition. We are going to begin tonight. Let the time beat us. Because we have a very beautiful presentation today from the colleagues of Centinelas del Agua. We have some main rules before we begin. Today, we have, as I was commenting, we have Centinelas del Agua, and they're going to present to us the community-based water management in the coastal communities of the Caribbean. If you need interpretation, you will be able to find it in the Zoom controls, the interpretation button. You can click on this button and choose the language that you want to hear. You can choose to only listen to the interpreted language by muting the original audio. Some basic rules for today. In Marfand, we encourage a space of learning and respect. Please have all your microphones and cameras turned off during the webinar to avoid disruptions. And if you want, please write your full name, country, and organization in the chat so that we can know where you're listening to us from. You can post your questions or comments in the chat. Please make sure that it is related to the topic that we are discussing in this presentation. The question will be forwarded to the speakers, and they will be answered possibly at the end of the presentation. Just a disclaimer, today the opinions expressed are the sole responsibility of the speakers and do not necessarily represent the opinion or position of Marfand. So we give the welcome to Nicole and Azul. Nicole Bernard is the lead in conservation in karstic systems in Centinelas del Agua. She is an environmental engineering with environmental participant management experience in a community level for the protection of strategic ecosystems. She has participated in different research projects focused on renewable resources, sustainable technologies, community development, and has participated in scientific communication and international academic mobility. She has collaborated in projects related to water quality, citizen science, environmental education, and local capacity building for the natural resource management. Her work contributes to the conservation of the environment and the well-being of communities, providing sustainable strategies based on collaboration between civil associations, local communities, and the academic institutions. In Centinelas del Agua, Nicole coordinates the initiatives focused on conservation and sustainable water management in the Yucatan Peninsula and Quintana Roo. We also have Azul Guzman. She is the leader in the laboratory in water quality in Centinelas del Agua. She is a biotechnology engineer with experience in microbiological and physicochemical analysis, as well as water quality controls, food and biological samples. She has collaborated in research projects with the Polytechnic University of Quintana Roo and the Faculty of Superior Studies of Zaragoza in UNAM, and has participated in laboratories in experimental research and developing materials of absorbing materials from organic waste. She has worked in laboratories in food quality and clinical analysis, strengthening her expertise in microbiology, quality assurance, sanitary regulations, and operation of specialized equipment. In Centinelas del Agua, she coordinates field monitoring activities and conducts physicochemical and bacteriological analysis of water samples in Quintana Roo and Yucatan, contributing to the generation of scientific information that supports the conservation and sustainable management of the region's water resources. Welcome, Nicole and Azul. And before we continue with our webinar, we want to take a moment to congratulate the organization Centinelas del Agua and all of their colleagues that work in Centinelas del Agua for the important recognition that they received in the awards, the most ecoistas in Mexico 2026. This award honors 15 years of work, of uninterrupted work in the protection of the karstic aquifer in the peninsula of Yucatan. This effort has combined in an amazing level the involvement of scientific research, community action, and environmental education. It is very significant to receive this recognition to Centinelas del Agua, along with different allies that work in this topic, reassuring the important role that these organizations from the civil association play to push for real change that will last for a long time. So from Marfund, we really want to congratulate you, to all of the team of Centinelas del Agua, and especially to their General Director, Alejandro Lopez Tamayo, all of their volunteers, their allies, and communities that have made possible this achievement. Their commitment really shows that the conservation of water requires perseverance, vision, and collective work. Congratulations for this very well-deserved recognition. From all of the team of Marfund, we wish that this is just one of many more achievements, and we hope to continue collaborating with you to strengthen the conservation of our water, resources, and biodiversity of the region. So with this, thank you so much. Congratulations again to all of the team. We want to remind you that in Marfund, we have a grievance mechanism. You can take a picture of these QR codes to access the form if you have any complaint or suggestions. And we want to remind you that we are always in our social media accounts in www.marfund.org. We are on Facebook, on Instagram and LinkedIn, and in Bisky. So now we are giving the word to our colleagues in Centinelas del Agua, and I am going to share the presentation, and whenever you are ready, you may begin. Welcome again. Hello, good morning to all of you. Thank you for these recognition, for these congratulations. We are very grateful that we are here to have you as allies. And we want to welcome all of you to this webinar that has as a title, as Elisa mentioned, the community-based management, water management in coastal communities in Mexican Caribbean. We want to thank all of your time for being here. We know that you are joining us from different parts of the region, and we really hope that this is a space where we can share our knowledge, our lessons learned, and all of the results that we have done with our community-based work that we are pushing to strengthen the management and monitoring of water quality in coastal communities in Mexico. So who are we? Centinelas de Agua, we are an organization, a civil association that started in 2011 from our main objective, which is to preserve and protect the aquifer of the Yucatan Peninsula through our different projects. We have scientific investigation, conservation, hydric governance, and education and culture for sustainability. And all of this is based on the idea that we're all centinelas, we are all guardians of the water, and we are very excited to be part of this webinar, as Azul mentioned before. Next one, please. So in this session, we're going to be presenting two of the main projects that we've had in the Mexican Caribbean. First is implemented in the community of Chiquila, where we work with fishing cooperatives to strengthen their capacities for environmental research related to the water quality and their fishing resources. On the other side, we have also worked in the Bay of Chetumal, where we are working with artisan groups to promote the participation of women in the monitoring of water quality and strengthening local governance and local community economy. So we start with this project. With the project that we started in Chiquila. Here we started working with the fishing cooperatives in Chiquila and a community water monitoring system. This project is the continuity of different previous works that we have done in the area. In this work, we started with different water quality workshops, the management of solid urban waste, and different workshops about the effects of microplastics, strengthening their capacities of the communities, of the fishing communities in the area, and also to be able to help them understand and address the main challenges, the main environmental challenges in their area, as well as give them information to improve the quality of their fishing resources that they distribute. Next one. And now we're going to talk about the project in the Southern Zone. It's talking about the strengthening of the governance and community economy by supporting sustainable ventures in the state reserve Santuario Manatí, Chetumal Bay, and its area of influence. Here we try to strengthen the participation of community in the monitoring of water quality, conservation, and the knowledge of their natural resources, and at the same time promote some alternative or diversifying sustainable economic practices. Here we work with two different communities, Raudales and Laguna Guerrero, that are in the municipality of Tombobella Blanco, in the capital of Quintana Roo, Chetumal. And here we work with a group of artisan women that have a name of the Teofantásticas women. They make different products about the flora and fauna of the area of the Chetumal Bay, inspired in the biodiversity. And this helps promote the value of the ecosystems of the bay. And the main idea of the project is that conservation and economic development are not separate processes. They go hand in hand, and they are an opportunity so that they can work on both of these topics together and have the communities learn how they can implement these actions to take care of the region where they live. Next one. So, an important question that we had about this project is how all of this effort started. And it all started because of the different challenges that were identified in the coastal communities of the Mexican Caribbean. These challenges, we have, of course, the growth of tourism, which demands more water. And this is affecting directly the communities of the region. Another challenge is the overexploitation of the aquifer because when we are over exploiting the aquifer, it comes to a moment where the excavation of wells, we start extracting very salty water because we don't have any more fresh water in the surface of the area. And this, of course, is going to generate a lot of problems in the community because they are consuming a water that is not of the quality that it should be for their well-being and their consumption. This strategy aims to promote the active participation of the community through the different workshops, the different community monitoring efforts. They're getting a lot of knowledge on how to take care and monitor their waters to be able to make decisions regarding their hydric resources. And why do we work with community management? It's important to work with them because it is what's gonna, like I mentioned before, it's gonna strengthen them as a community to conserve the quality of the environment and to generate economic opportunities for them. These activities are, for example, a sustainable fisheries, because when you strengthen the community through the different workshops, they're going to be able to have better fishing practices, to be able to have quality products. Also, this strengthening is also going to help them have better nature-based tourism in their community and the products they have to offer. And as a last point, we have the artisan production, because we have many artisan communities in the area, and by strengthening their communities and their activities, they can implement this practice and have better tools to strengthen and grow in these economic alternatives. So to be able to maintain these productive activities, they need to have at least the basic quality of water and be able to guarantee the well-being of the community. We're going to be talking about one of the most valuable parts of the projects we work, and it's the community participation in the monitoring. So how does it all start? First, we look for the participation from them. We look for their interest, the interest to know about the importance of water quality. What we start doing first is we tell them about why it's important to do this. And our main objective is not just to generate data, but as Azul mentioned, is to strengthen their local capacity, so they know about their resources and the resources they depend on, and be able to participate in the conservation of them. So first, they go to the workshops. We invite them to participate, and they make part of these workshops. And they start getting a little bit more information on the subject. And then, in these workshops, we talk about what water quality is and how this influences us in the region where we live and where we work. And they have always many questions, and they ask themselves and start wondering, start getting this perspective on the importance of taking care of the aquifer, taking care of where the water is coming from. We also have a documentation of all of the data that we are collecting and all of the workshops that we are giving. We invite them to replicate these efforts and to own these efforts. And we also explain how to use these kits. We start with very basic parameters like pH, salinity, amongst others. And these kits, we give it to them, and we explain that in the moment when they notice something different in the water quality, they can gather a sample, and from what they learn, they can apply it and get some data to have that follow-up. And this is what we want, to empower them to get involved in these processes. And this way, we are exchanging knowledge, we solve doubts, we have active participation in these learning spaces. What did we achieve? We have a local ownership of a community ownership of the information, be able to make informed decisions, and bigger core responsibility with the conservation of water. And this way, we have real arguments to show what is happening in our communities and their freshwater sources. And this is how we get more responsibility in the conservation of water. When we talked with some of the communities, we had so many doubts that started and so many things that they didn't really know about. And it's very important for them to know where this water is coming from and the water they are using, because this is what they use for their day-to-day activities. And it's very important for them to know what is going on. And well, talking about how water is the base of a local economy, how does this all start? Well, first, we start talking about where you are getting your water from. Where is this water coming from? We talk about the aquifer and the karstic system and how we are all connected with it. Even if you're in one side of the territory to another, we know that we're all connected underneath. And it's very important to know that we understand the quality of this water, and we start promoting and so we start getting this knowledge of how to take care of this water resource and how it affects the activities that sustain them, like fishing, tourism, and it also allows the development of sustainable ventures like artisan productions, or any other activities that the communities might carry out. And this is when we show them how it's important to not only take care of the environment, but we're also taking care of their community, of their economy and their livelihoods. Next one. And working with the artisans. In the project in the South, we worked, as I mentioned, with the women Biofantasticas, and we have started a strengthening workshop that was led by these women that have developed different products based on the local biodiversity for the diversification of their income. This venture also promotes the awareness of the emblematic species of the local diversity and what they do. So they do little keychains, and they're all knit, they're all handmade, and it takes, of course, quite a long time to make each of these artifacts. So they're not only making something beautiful, but they're also showing what species are important in the area. And for example, in the Bay of Chetumal, we have a very representative animal, which is the manatee. And they start telling you about how they know its importance, and they show people why it's important to take care of them and take care of the environment. And in the same way, we also work in promoting sustainable ventures. And so they have that local identity. There is an active participation of women as conservation agents, environmental education, and community development. So these Biofantasticas women, they're not only entrepreneurs, they also care about the conservation of the ecosystem that they're surrounded by and that they're connected to. And thanks to this, we are able to go on topics of environmental education, and they're the ones that are promoting in their community why it's important to take care. And we have also achieved to have them participate in diversifying economy workshops and different cleaning campaigns and other activities that we will talk about later. And so in the northern part of the region, as we mentioned before, we worked with the fishing cooperatives. We also worked with these with the fishermen and fisherwomen in these cooperatives that are, of course, more focused in these fishing products. And this product is developed in the area of Chiquila, in the Bay of Yalahao, in Holbox. And we are able to see throughout all of these visits that the participants are very involved, actively involved in all of the training workshops and the monitoring for their rainwater harvesting systems. And this way we achieve an involvement and an appropriation of their resources. We also improved the fisheries record keeping of the cooperative. They were able to how they need to be organized of their databases and be able to have more trustworthy record keeping. This is a very important step so they can have future preparedness for certification of their products, and so they can also access the markets that appreciate sustainable resources. It's very important to highlight that in this phase, we were able to share the results of the monitoring efforts that were done in the area throughout the whole period of the project in 3 different climatic seasons, where we analyzed more than 30 sites, both in the lagoon as well as the coastal areas of Holbox. In these points, we analyze different water quality parameters, enterococcus and coliforms, and microplastics and oxybenzone. All of this information makes a very important database to strengthen the community-based management in the area, because we start to identify the different challenges, like the lack of infrastructure in some cooperatives, but also wastewater treatments in the area, as well as the impact of the touristic development in the area. So all of the information that they are gathering is helping them to strengthen their cooperatives in the area. So this is some of the results that we obtained from the monitoring. We are presenting the maps of the dry seasons that were the most highlighted ones that we found throughout the monitoring sessions. So as you can see in the map on the left, we have a temperature map. In the picture, we can see how the temperature behaves in the Yalahao Lagoon and the coastal area of Holbox. The colors represent different temperature ranges. Those that are orange and red are higher temperatures in comparison to the blue colors that have lower temperatures. We can see the highest temperatures are concentrated in the interior of the Yalahao Lagoon, where it's evident that the water circulation is limited and there's a higher influence of there's a lower influence of currents, of marine currents. Unlike the ones that are outside, there's a higher movement of the currents that reduces the temperature of the water. So in a general aspect, we have a very homogeneous distribution based on what I mentioned before. On the right side, we have the map of enterococci, which is a bacteriological parameter that is measured in the Yalahao Bay. You can see that in the coastal areas, there is a higher concentration of enterococci. And this is, of course, related to the discharge of water or different anthropic activities that are developed in the area. And as you can see in the coastal area of Holbox, you have less density, and this again can be attributed to the currents that are stronger in the area. In this last map, we can see the tricks map. This is an indicator that we use to evaluate the productivity and eutrophication levels in water bodies. These results suggest that there's more nutrients available in organic matter associated to local patterns and anthropic activities as it is in the coastal areas. We see that there's a higher concentration of nutrients, but in a general matter, we see low to moderate productivity indexes. But we do see that there are specific points where there is higher concentrations. Last, we have a parameter that we analyzed was the analysis of microplastics. In the left side, we have the map of the results obtained in the dry season, where we have the highest concentration of microplastics is inside of the lagoon, of the Yalahal Lagoon, compared to the coastal area where we have less concentration. Here we have point 29, which is in the center of the lagoon, and it's very close to the route where that is taken between Holbox and Chiquila, and it is evident that there is higher concentration of microplastics in this route. In comparison, we have the map of the rainy season on the right. We also have higher concentration, yes, in the same point, but inside the lagoon as well. And here we can see that it's evident how the microplastic concentration increased in the coastal areas. This might indicate that the rainy season can be bringing all of these plastics. And they distribute all these microplastics that are carried to the surface of the lagoon, and could be why there is higher microplastic concentration in this area. So, talking about the results that we achieved of these projects, we carried out 5 monitoring sessions in the different climate seasons. Dry, more than 50 people trained of the fishing cooperatives and 2 water committees in the southern zone, which is Raudales and Laguna Guerrero. We were able to improve the rainwater harvesting systems in the Escamera cooperative to optimize the quality and safety control of their fishing products. And we were able to carry out 7 different environmental education workshops, also talking about sustainable practices, about the appropriate waste management, as well as environmental talks about the aquifer and different sustainable practices about waste management and how to collect and separate properly. And we did a campaign of land and aquatic based cleanups in the Raudales community. We also did cleanups in the mangrove. People were distributed into the mangroves and were able to collect a lot of trash in this area. This is a place where there's a high touristic influence, and all of these resources are left behind by these people and are carried, and they are moved into the water system, into the mangrove. So the people of the community thought that it was important to carry out these cleanups in both land and mangrove. We have to, of course, mention that the Biofantastic women carried out these initiatives, these cleanup initiatives, because we want them to be leader of these communities. And something important were the environmental and social safeguards with each of the projects that we have carried out. We always have grievance mechanisms and community activities. Our current state, we don't have any recorded complaints and no safeguard activation, which is very important for us because this means that we have been working in collaboration and doing it correctly with the communities and always giving the space for them to talk about and share their grievances. In the picture, you can see that there's always this little box where we have their little grievance box. And something that is being carried out constantly is always have accessible information for the participants, attention and follow up, a timely attention and follow up in case there's any complaint. And this way we promote the participation in an inclusive and transparent way. Next steps is to follow up with the visits to the coastal fishing cooperatives to carry out their certifications. As we mentioned before, we have some environmental education brigades and sustainable practices trainings, 3 cleaning campaigns in other communities. And we would also like to have a high participation of the community, and we would like it to be community led. We, of course, support their activities, but we want them to be the leaders and the ones that make the motion. Not only that it stays as a Centinelas del Agua activity, but that it starts from within. We also want to do another water quality monitoring session. And now we're going to talk about the water quality kits. As we mentioned, our next steps is to be able to give water monitoring kits to the different water committees, and they're going to be in charge sending all of the information that is obtained from the workshops to the community and to the larger public as well, because they're going to be the ones that are going to have these kits and are going to be the ones to be able to teach on how to use these kits. And that way they can be constantly monitoring water quality in their communities. For example, if one of the participants of the community has the kit, but there's interest from another part of the community members, and if they notice something unusual, they can always contact the committee, the water committee, and they can both work go towards the area to take these samples and to carry out this monitoring without Centinelas having to actually be there. And in case they have any unusual results, this is where we can come in and probably take some action with whatever strange things that are happening in the area. And one of our last activities, but it's also very important, we have an environmental fair. And this is to strengthen all of the efforts of the community by the different venture activities, to have the spaces to talk about environmental education and to make the community part of this and make this part of the community. And we want to finish with a sentence that says the community water management not only protects coastal ecosystem, it strengthens governance, boosts local economies, and builds more resilient communities for the future. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Nicole and Azul. What a beautiful presentation. These 2 projects are extremely important, very interesting. We have the North and the South. Thank you so much again. Let's see if we have some questions from the audience. If we don't have any questions yet, I encourage all of you to write your questions or to raise your hand so that we can get to know a little bit more about these projects. I'm going to stop my presentation and let's see if we have any questions in the chat. There is a question from Keegan Slinger. I'm going to translate the question. The management. Did the urban solid waste management include fish waste management? Like the fish bits or fish remainders from fisheries? I assume that it's in the fishing cooperatives. Yes, so these communities that we work with and all the solid waste, it all goes into. There's some communities that they don't have wastewater treatment, so they just discard it through the water. They distribute this product. They It's not like in that area they have like that specific place where they discharge all of it into the lagoon. Okay, so how do you use the rainwater harvesting system? Is it to clean the fishing products or to make ice? Maybe you can give us a little bit more context, Azul. So yes, the rainwater harvesting systems are used exactly for that, to use this water to wash their fishing resources, to have higher productivity. And also in the Escaneras cooperative, they wanted to get a certification to be able to use this water to not only wash their products, but to also be able to produce ice and be able to use this ice to distribute their products. Excellent. Thank you, Azul. We take this moment to let you all know that we have a little feedback survey in our chat. In Marfin, we always look for excellence and how to improve our processes. So if you have a few minutes to fill out this form, we would really appreciate it. Keegan, I saw your like, so I assumed that we were able to answer your question. We encourage all of you, if you have any questions, and here taking advantage of, we have Nicole and Azul here. We have another question from Jasmine. She said, her question is, if there is an intermediate in the commercialization of the fishing product. Right now, we don't have identified anything regarding this. It is more focused on improving the conditions, the productive conditions that they have, because we did carry out some analysis and we saw some parameters that were important to improve. And as we mentioned before, we did see improvements in these systems, in the rainwater harvesting systems, and we are going to implement improvements so that they can actually use the water. But we didn't see anything that stopped their production. I have another question. How have you, well, you mentioned a little bit of the empowerment of the different fishing communities and cooperatives, but how have you seen the empowerment of the women in these projects? How have you seen the change from the beginning of the project to right now that it's been carried out a little bit more? Have there been any behavior changes in their relationship that they have amongst them, not only with the team of Centinelas, but also how they have started to manage the resources and the tools that have been given to them? And how are they applying what they have learned with their different ventures? Um, in the northern area with the fishing cooperatives, we were able to see this high satisfaction and a lot of motivation, because every time we had a meeting or any workshop, it was evident the active and interested participation of the majority of the cooperative. And during these talks, they were always adding new challenges that they saw in the area, in their cooperatives and with other cooperatives. They were always in contact with us and asking us how about project advancements, and they were very eager to see the results of the projects because they really wanted to know about the results, about their rainwater harvesting systems, but as well as the Yalahu Lagoon. And throughout the talks and workshops, they were always asking questions and participating. In their pictures, it was very evident that they were very eager to participate and make part of this. And they were interested in being able to improve as a cooperative. And regarding the women in the South, where we work with the artisan women, at first, when we had the first workshops about environmental education, when we talked about the karstic system and how we're all connected, they found that very interesting about this. And they were reflecting a lot on how their actions affected the aquifer. And one of the artisans was mentioning that before she believed that the mangrove was like just part of the water. They didn't really know what it was for or why it existed. And well, she had the perspective of like, why don't we just cut it? And after we had these talks and we talked about the ecosystem services of the mangroves and the fauna and the flora of the region, where we mentioned, of course, the importance of the mangrove as a barrier against hurricanes. Where she believed that she mentioned that she didn't really know that it was so important, and now she understands why it's so important to take care of it. And understand its importance and how the whole community has to know about this. And when the talk finished, she told us that she was going to share this information with the community, on why it's important to protect what is surrounding us. And thanks to this, they have been able to share all of this knowledge towards the community and why it's important. So the sharing of information is the biggest achievement that we want to make. Not only that they understand the importance, but that they share this information. And this is when they implemented the first campaign to clean, and they were the ones that proposed the place, the time, and the date. We did all the preparations to support them, and we had a big participation of the community, around 22 participants. We were able to extract a lot of trash, and they were already ready for the next cleanup. And this is exactly what we want, to motivate the community and the cooperatives, and with the artisan women. That is amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much, Nico and Azul. This is all very interesting. We have many of our listeners congratulating you. Something that you might not always see is the inclusion and the participation of the community in all of the subjects. So congratulations again. Remember, all of you, if you can please answer the forms, the survey that we have left on the chat. Um, and we have time for one last question. Sergio Hernandez is asking us, he would want to know if any of these community groups has organized through a local community of water or something similar um, to make the rights heard about access to water. So you mentioned about the creation of water committees. Can you talk a little bit more about this? Yes. So as we mentioned before, about the campaign that they had, that the women Biofantasticas had, from then is when they established the Constituent Act of the water committees, one in the Raudales community and in Laguna Guerrero. And they are made by these women. They are the ones that are carrying out all of these subjects. And every time that we go and carry out a monitoring, it is with them that we contact so that they continue to share this information and all the knowledge that they are acquiring from our part. And so, answering your question, yes, we have established these committees in the southern part. We have two committees, and hopefully, we're gonna be getting more of these committees. Thank you so much. Maybe one last question, Nicola Nasul. Of course, there is all the work that has been carried out in Jumbalam, in Holbox, in Chiquila. It's moving forward quickly, and it's a little bit more ahead than what you've done in the South. Can you tell us about some of the lesson learned or the challenges that you faced that you want to take into consideration for further projects to be able to take both projects to a next level? And to be able to continue protecting the natural resources of the region. Yes, one of the biggest lessons learned, talking about the South, is that even though we've had these workshops of environmental education, we do need a little bit more community participation. In the cleaning campaign, we really hope that more people join us. But for this, we really want to have more workshops, and invite more people from the communities and be able to have at least 50 people joining so that they all understand the context of why it's important. And we are going to be going towards with sharing these information and these workshops to have a little bit more dynamic approaches and why it's important to learn about this. And have them really understand that this is for the well-being of their community, because we don't want this to be on us all the time, or like forcing them or pushing it on them, but actually inspire them to know why it's important and understand deeply why it's important for their initiatives to start, and why it's going to benefit them as a community. And it's something that we need to work on slowly. It takes a lot of patience. It's about not letting go, because we really want them to join and motivate. And I think that we can. That's what we've noticed in the South. In the North, with the fishing cooperatives, I think it's necessary that this area, not only the cooperatives that we work with get involved, but a big challenge is to have more cooperatives come together, and even the general public, even if they don't make part of the cooperatives, to have children and women, so that any person that is interested in these workshops to be able to take part of them. and be able to transfer all of this information to the general public, not only to the fishing cooperatives, but for example, in like communal spaces where more people can arrive and learn from. Um, because we did have a results presentation where we invited the general public, but we didn't have many people that participated as we hoped they would. Um, and we would like that more people were participating, to have more people join, um, particularly children and teenagers that are the future of the community, and they're the future of Mexico. So this is our biggest challenge and what we're aiming for. So thank you so much. Um, Thank you very much. Well, I don't think we have any more time, but we're going to finish this webinar today. Thank you, Centinelas del Agua, to Nicole and Azul. Congratulations again for your work in this year, and um, lots of success for the year that's coming. Always remember that if you weren't able to see this webinar or you arrived later, we're going to upload the videos in our social media and our webpage as well. For more, please follow us for the next webinar the next month, and follow us on social media. So thank you so much, Nicole and Azul, and thank you all for being here. Have a lovely day. Thank you all.